Contending for the promise, walking in what's already yours. Deuteronomy 28, verses 9 through 10 says, "The Lord will establish you as a holy people to himself, just as he has sworn to you, if you keep the commandments of the Lord your God and walk in his ways. Then all the peoples of the earth shall see that you are called by the name of the Lord, and they shall be afraid of you." One of the biggest misconceptions among believers is the idea that favor means you won't have to fight. That if God really gave it to you, it should come easy. But nothing can be further from the truth. Favor doesn't eliminate the battle, it ensures the victory. God promised to Israel the land of Canaan. It was theirs by covenant, but they still had to go in, take possession, and contend with giants. The promise didn't mean the fight would be easy. It meant that the outcome was already settled. That's what favor does. It sets you up to win, not to skip the process. Psalms 44 verse 3 says that they didn't gain the land by their own sword or by the strength of their arm. It was the Lord's hand. It was his favor that made the difference. So yes, they fought, but they fought with an advantage. And you've got to settle this in your own heart. What God has promised you, you will possess. But you will have to contend for it. You will have to believe for it. You will have to stand your ground and walk it out in faith. Deuteronomy 28, 9 through 10 paints a beautiful picture of what happens when we walk in obedience and God's favor. God says, "I will establish you as my holy people." The word establish means to root, to secure, to cause to be firm. In other words, it isn't just trying to give you moments of blessing. He wants you established in favor, grounded in it, and steady in it. Then he says, "All peoples of the earth shall see that you are called by the name of the Lord." That's visibility. That's a testimony. That's divine influence. Let me say it like this. Favor makes you a billboard for the glory of God. But notice again, it all hinges on obedience. God says, if you keep my commandments and walk in my ways, that's not legalism, that's alignment. It's walking in sync with the Spirit of God. When your life aligns with his word, you position yourself for the full flow of his favor. I've seen this time and time again. When people begin to obey what they already know, God begins to show up in ways they've never seen. Favor follows obedience. But don't miss this. Obedience doesn't mean ease. You may still have to walk into the promised land and face some giants. But if God said it's yours, don't back down. Favor doesn't mean you won't be resisted. It means you won't be defeated. You've got to contend for what's already yours. That healing, it's yours. That breakthrough, already purchased. That peace, that provision, that restoration, secured at the cross. But you still have to stand. You still have to fight the good fight of faith. Years ago, I was driving through the mountains of Tennessee to go preach. It was early. I stopped at a McDonald's for coffee. A woman walked up to me out of nowhere and said, "You're a preacher, aren't you?" I hadn't said a word. I didn't have a sign around my neck. I was just standing there. But when favor is on your life, people see it. The woman asked me to pray for her right there in line, and I did. And by the time we were done, people were lined up behind us waiting for drinks, but I was on assignment. The moment wasn't about convenience, it was about a calling. Favor makes you visible, and favor makes you ready. You don't need to chase after what's already yours. You need to stand in faith and contend for it. The land is already promised. The victory is already won. But God needs people who will step in and take possession. Say this confession with me today. I am established by the Lord, called by his name, and marked by his favor. I do not shrink back from what God has promised me. I step in and possess it. I do not rely on my own strength, but on his hand, his power, and his favor. I contend for every promise. I am visible for his glory and victorious by his Spirit. In Jesus' name.